I think it's important to realize wherever focus goes, energy flows. It's corny, but it's true, right? In fact, maybe an easier way of saying it is we don't experience life. None of us do. We experience the life we focus on. So in any moment, what's wrong is always available. So is what's right. So it's not about being positive. It's about being intelligent, right? You know, when you're in a totally negative state and the world's going to end and there are people like believing that in the next 12 years, the entire environment's going to collapse and they won't have a child. You got to look at the impact of what you're believing, and you got to look at and say, where's my focus going? I can always be upset about something. I can always find something to be joyous or at least grateful for, which leads to joy. And I think it's having that, learning to discipline your disappointments, not allow them to grow and to move on and to use whatever life has given you.
So just slow that down. That's really what I want you to get. Every human problem is a behavior problem. War isn't a problem in and of itself. It's not some thing that exists on its own. It's a what kind of problem? A problem with what? Human what? Behavior. I believe all problems are behavior problems. By changing behavior, we could change the entire world. We have that potential as human beings. We truly do with the tools and knowledge we now have. So I thought, what's exciting, Robbins? You absolutely know how to change any human behavior, any individual. No matter what the issue is, if I really wanted to, I could influence anyone. I can create any belief system or any kind of change because I understand human motivation well enough and I know how to create any set of behaviors because I know how to change someone's state. If I were a bad person, I could put you in a state where you'd kill someone. For example, if I used hypnosis or influence techniques to put you in a trance and made you imagine vividly that someone was about to stab your child and you had a gun, how many of you would shoot? See, all I need to do is create an intense state using external input, which triggers an internal image or thought. That changes your behavior. So yes, I can create any state and therefore any behavior, negatively if I wanted to. But the same thing applies on the positive side. I can take someone who feels hopeless, maybe even suicidal, and shift their state so they don't want to die anymore. I work with people in prison and help them turn their lives around. People who thought they could never get a job who ended up becoming business partners. I've done that not because I'm special, but because I understand the process. It's a skill. Now, let me show you what this whole talk is about tonight. All human behavior, all of it, is the result of something we've been talking about all weekend. What is it the result of? State. Every human action comes from your state. Now, what determines state? Your internal representations, what you imagine and focus on, and or your physiology. What affects physiology? Things like temperature, pollution, the environment, your body chemistry, how you eat, all of that impacts your physical state, and that determines a lot of your behavior. And you become a model for others through your behavior. Everyone's modeling someone else, whether they realize it or not. Think about it. How do you get someone to become a kamikaze pilot? How do you get someone to kill themselves on purpose as a mission? You have to change their state. So now ask yourself, what if we as individuals learned how to present external messages in such a consistent way through our words, our bodies, our energy, that we could change other people's internal representations? What if we could shift someone's mental pictures, change their emotional state, and guide them into a new behavior? What could you do in your life with that kind of ability? Forget about world peace for a second. Let's just talk about your everyday life. If you could shift how anyone feels and thinks through how you speak, how you move, how you connect with them, visually, auditorily, kinesthetically, what kind of impact could you have? If you knew how to influence someone's inner world to spark a different state, to cause a new behavior, what kind of life could you build? Now, when I say control behavior, some people get scared, but guess what? It's already happening. Why do you reach for a Pepsi or a Coke or a cigarette? Why do you grab a beer or choose a certain brand? Because marketers have shown you images, external messages over and over again. They've linked those things with states you enjoy: fun, sex, freedom, relaxation. Over time, your brain builds an internal link between the product and the emotional state. And once that happens, once that association is formed, every time you see the product or feel a certain way, your brain triggers the state and you reach for the drink, the smoke, the drug, whatever it is. So the real question is, who's going to run your life? who's driving your ship? Who's flying your plane? Is it going to be you? Or is it going to be people sitting in some corporate office in a high-rise planning how to shape your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, just to make a profit? Because that's how they run the world. They understand how to influence your external environment, which influences your internal world, which influences your state, which controls your behavior. And most of you are reacting just like Pavlov's dogs. I know I've been there too, but I don't live that way anymore.
I want you to understand that the key here is having congruence, having the outcome clearly in mind before it happens. When it's that well thought out and locked in as part of you, it allows you to believe in it. That's the part of the plan that actually works. It's like this. Here you are, and your brain is split into two halves. An idea shows up here in your conscious mind. Now, if you've got a strong enough plan or a total commitment, the kind of commitment where you'll do whatever it takes, then that idea can move deeper. If you've got enough clarity, enough powerful internal emotion attached to that plan, then that emotion will push it down into your unconscious mind. And once it's in your unconscious, you'll start to manifest it. That's how the mind works. Read Think and Grow Rich. Read As a Man Thinketh. Read any book that teaches the fundamentals of building wealth. They'll all tell you the same thing. This is the foundation of it all. So the key is build a strong enough internal emotion that the idea drops into your subconscious. One way to do that is by creating a clear plan. Another way is by building such a deep commitment that you'll make it happen, no matter what. You'll find a way, no matter the obstacle. But the emotion behind it, it has to be consistent. That's what makes the difference.